In tonight's in-depth coverage, who rules the schools? I'm talking about State Superintendent Ryan Walters and his rule changes that would remove certain books, stop pronoun changes, and put in new testing requirements, and so much more. We told you when Walters threatened to take Tulsa Public Schools accreditation if the district did not meet his standards. Some lawmakers say the state superintendent has gone too far. For more than a year now, State Superintendent Ryan Walters has proposed new rules for public schools.
Now on a few updates of some rules that we will be announcing today. When we institute the rule,
Walters' new rules range from everything to gender, to academic performance, to library materials, to even teacher behavior. The proposed punishment for not complying would be a downgrade to a district's accreditation. If a district loses accreditation, state law requires the district to shut down and students must be dispersed out to nearby districts that remain in good standing.
The State Board of Education shall promulgate standards of performance and conduct for teachers. They do have the authority to do that.
Over the last few months, state lawmakers have been carefully looking at Walters' proposals for what he says will bring accountability back to schools. Soon they will vote up or down on all or some of the proposals.
The threat of accreditation, it's left a mark on Tulsa. And the chaos that ensued when the casual threat of accreditation loss last year was made several times over. So I want to proceed with caution.
Democrats say there are ways to keep districts accountable, especially when it comes to academic standards. But threatening to shut them down, especially over one teacher's behavior or a couple of library books, should not be a solution.
I would say we already have existing processes for performance, and tying it to accreditation gives me pause.
Republicans say they are open to giving Walters some leeway to make reforms he ran on because Oklahoma's education rankings are so low. But they want to make sure accreditation downgrades are carried out properly. Because if a city loses a school district, it could have widespread economic consequences.
I might have one or two sets of these rules that I still have some concern or issue about resolving. For the most part, the vast majority of that ties to the accreditation process. If we've given them the authority in the accreditation process, that's what we've got to get cleared out.
One of the rules Walters put in place is banning changes to a student's gender on their school records, even with parent permission. In December, 2 LGBTQ rights groups filed a lawsuit over the rule on behalf of a Moore family. The lawsuit says the family's federal rights were violated, even though they had a court order. Walters said, quote, "We are not going to play the transgender game." The legislature never voted on this policy. It was approved by the governor instead back in October. Walters has publicly butted heads with Tulsa Public Schools and threatened its accreditation, but lately he's changing his tune. Last year, Walters said the district needed to improve in areas like reading scores and financial management. He was sharply critical of TPS. Some of his comments angered supporters of Tulsa Public Schools. Here's a bit of what he said last August while Dr. Deborah Gist was still in charge.
Tulsa Public Schools is a bus being driven by Superintendent Deborah Gist. That bus has veered off the road. That bus has gone into a ditch, and now that bus has crashed right into a tree.
Gist resigned not long after that, and Dr. Ebony Johnson took over as TPS superintendent. Initially, Walters did not support Johnson either, but the district started giving monthly academic updates to the State Board of Education, and now things seem to be improving.
They've had tremendous success this year. I think it's a testament to them focusing on outcomes. I think it's also in large part of having tough conversations.
Walters said that last week while touring Tulsa Public Schools campuses with Dr. Ebony Johnson. You see there, Walters seems to be happy with the district's academics and said it's an example for the rest of the state. But some Oklahoma school districts say Walters' criticisms go beyond tough conversations.
Today, we see Edmond Public Schools is fighting to keep pornography on their shelves and are challenging our rule to keep pornography out of the classroom. This is unbelievable.
Edmond Public Schools is fighting back after Walters threatened to downgrade their accreditation over allegations they had porn in their libraries. The district announced in January they are suing Walters and the State Board of Education, saying Walters doesn't have the authority to dictate what is on library shelves. They say state law protects local control.
I also just want to make a point that I feel like is going to probably be heard in the news or social media. We do not have pornography in our libraries. If you hear that, that is not true.
The two books Edmond is defending are The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls and Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. Both books are not erotic, but do discuss instances of sexual assault. Supporters of the books say the world is not all sunshine and rainbows, and it shows students how people persevere through very dark times and come out stronger. Multiple public school districts across the state have been accused by Walters of having, quote, porn in their libraries. But this is where it gets complicated, and what we're about to tell you is a compilation of Fox 23's own reporting over the last year and a half. In some cases, there were graphic novels depicting actual naked people performing sex acts. The books were sold to districts as love stories promoting diversity. In other cases, some books considered pornographic and offensive were talking about characters who at some point had been victims of sexual assault. The response by districts have been mixed. Some of those districts say the books showed up in their online library catalogs, but they were never placed on shelves for students to access. Others pulled them immediately once a parent complained, and others say they were falsely accused of having such books by out-of-state social media accounts trying to stir the pot. The fight over rule changes is just one of the controversies at the State Department of Education right now. There's also teachers who said the department tried to make them pay back a signing bonus. Dozens of employees have left the agency recently. State lawmakers subpoenaed Walters for documents last winter, and Walters allegedly is using his office for travel and TV appearances and speaking engagements across the nation. And his alleged mishandling of federal COVID funds as Secretary of Education is also under investigation. Walters denies any wrongdoing. Despite those controversies, Governor Kevin Stitt says Walters is doing a good job at the State Department of Education. Walters was Stitt's education secretary before being elected state superintendent. Stitt says the state constitution makes the agencies Walters, and there's not much he can do about what goes on over there, especially when it comes to so many people leaving the agency in frustration.
We've got 130 people that have left the State Department of Education. Jinx Public Schools, nobody's left Jinx, nobody's left Tulsa. So you're telling me that we've lost 130 bureaucrats up here in Oklahoma City, and we've still got our education system rolling across the state? Sounds like a good thing to me.
We will keep following the fight over school rules and the other controversies at OSDE. Look for updates right here at 6:30.